Good morning. I really appreciate having everybody here today. Today's topic is spending reconciliation. I'm going to do a quick update on navigating the flow. And the major part of the call is spending reconciliation. Hopefully this will give everybody tips for the future and for training individuals. We're going to talk about one major error on the Excel workbook we sent. It's the QIP less URLs didn't work. Talking about where the instructions are, a RTT requisition date issue, spending and spending not editable, reconciling my own AHA, and then demonstration. And what I'm doing with the calls now, I believe, at least the first part of this is like for everybody. So whether your level is beginning, intermediate, or advanced. And then the demonstration, if you've already gone through the workbook and you don't have any issues besides the ones here, then you could probably get off the call. And then at the very end, I'm going to ask for topics for future calls. Does this agenda sound okay with everybody? Good for me. Yes, I love it when you respond. Thank you. Okay. I had a issue. I was really worried yesterday. I was at a conference, and I normally get about 100 calls or emails or tickets in a day, and so I was worried about you all. And part of it is I have to let my worry go. I have Jose here to help with the tickets, and I have Bill to help with tickets. And so I want you all to try to do what I'm trying to do, is just enjoy your work, enjoy your life, and all that. And I'm going to start by taking care of myself and just going outside more often and just enjoying the beauty of being alive. So that's just my tip for the day. Has nothing to do with sugar, but it was worrying about you all. Okay, so I did ask for a volunteer. I didn't see any volunteers. I know there are a lot more people on the call today. I would prefer to have someone besides Jose, just because I think it adds more to the call when we get multiple people working. So all you need to do is, when there is a question in the chat box, is make sure that if it's relevant to the current topic, that you interrupt me. And then the second item is to record, just copy and paste what's in the chat box, and then whatever answer we give, or refer to the this video. So do I have a volunteer? Pregnant pause. Okay, I am going to, let's see, is anybody getting on here? I hear there's about 3 people on. The last one to mute their microphone will be the volunteer. So it's going to be between Stephanie Martin, Kathleen, and Julia. So whoever, and Liz Isaacson. So whoever, okay, we got 3 left to mute their microphone.
But I am muted on my phone, so I don't think I count in that group. This is Stephanie.
Oh, darn, Stephanie. Okay. Okay, Liz, can you, Liz Isaacson, would you be able to take notes? it's actually going back and forth. She's on 2 different ones. I'll go ahead and have, let's see. People are still trying to go on and off. Okay.
Rick, it's Lisa.
Yeah.
I can try to do that for you.
Yay, I'm glad I didn't have to assign it to Jose. Thank you, Lisa. I really, really appreciate it. So everybody give Lisa a clap. All right. Okay, so I did not get any updates today from the OEC folks for the Race to the Top. I sent a message, and a couple of them are out today. I know they had a conference that they were going to. So again, I will give you any updates as they come. Okay, I want to remind you all, yes, we got clap, clap, clap for at least 2 people said clap, clap, clap for Lisa. Okay, I'll remind you all for November 16th, it will be our training. We sent out an Eventbrite, and there actually was some problems with Eventbrite. You have to have a unique email, so that was one of the problems. But we're getting some, you know, so we're trying to help people sign up if you have a problem signing up. It will be at the Community First Foundation, where we'll have the state TA day and the ECLA meeting, but this is Wednesday, and normally we do Thursday and Friday. We are working with we have such a wonderful group of trainers that a lot of them are on the call. Stacy, Lisa, Lelania, Sharon, Bill, and Clayton Early Learning. So I'm really, really excited about the training but they're working through outlines and things like that. So the sessions may be a little bit different from what we sent out as a, you know, sort of trying to get a gauge of who will be there. Okay, so I am going to cover, there are about 5 questions that came with the spending reconciliation, either as tickets, phone calls, or emails. So I'll cover those first, and then we'll ask for additional questions and then go do a demonstration for anybody that wants it. Okay? The first major issue was on the QIP list sheet. So I'm going to go into one of the spreadsheets. And I appreciate Triad for letting me know about this problem. They were the first ones. So if you look at the spreadsheet, it has this long URL, and there's a problem with it actually in this little part here. It says spend_spendings, and we should have typed spend_spending details. So the whole text didn't appear in your spreadsheet. So if any of you tried to do this QIP list, then it probably didn't work. Unless you figured this out on your own, but I can't imagine many of you figuring that out. So I'm going to show you how to fix it for the advanced Excel users. And then what I'll do is, if anybody needs help, I'll certainly send the new spreadsheets or have Jose send the new spreadsheets. Maybe just the tab that you need to work on. But it's fairly easy if you know the find and replace. So I'm going to go in. So I'm on the sheet, the QIP spend details sheet. Let me, I'm going to change the view so it's a little easier to see. Okay, so again, you can see that spendings instead of the spend details. So I am going to go into, I got to make sure I remember. So it's spend_spending_details is what the correct is. So on the Home tab, if I go on the Find and Select and then choose Replace. So I'm going to look for #spend _ spendings and replace it with spending details. So I put #spend _ spending, and then the correct is _spend, #spend _ spending details. I'm going to check one more time, make sure I got it right. Spend _ spending details. Okay, and then I'll replace all, and you see that these have changed. So now when I go in to the URL, before it had spendings, so you'll get this error message that data is not available, page does not exist, or you don't have permissions. It should have probably have another edit that you typed the wrong URL, or you copied it, or we made a mistake when we gave it to you. So now I copy that, and you'll see the actual details. So I really apologize for that mistake, but trying to do all these spreadsheets, well, it's just a challenge to get it all done and all done right. So are there any questions on that first error, to correct the spending or spending details? And actually, if you want us to correct it for you, go ahead. I'll have Lisa copy whoever said, please correct it for me. So put your abbreviation if you want us to do it for you, and I'd be happy to. And if, we'll make sure we get those out right away.
So Rick is another option for dealing with this one.
Yes.
So
Go ahead,
the other
Lisa.
option is to go into Sugar and go to spending details and copy out the next column over, which is the name of the record, and just
Yes.
paste that into that line, and it will get you to the same place.
So what Lisa is saying is, if we copy this and go to Sugar, and you said spending details.
Yep, and just fill it in on that line.
Fill it on this line, and it shows right here. That's a good suggestion too. Thank you, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions on that? You can say no, go ahead, yes, and write your question if you have any questions on how to fix this. Does that work for me? Thank you, Nicole. Good. I'm glad I got at least 2 confirmations that what I said was understandable. Okay, there were a few details that are spending that was canceled or rejected, and a few people pointed out you really don't have to correct those, like if they don't have a QIP. So just ignore those if there are canceled and rejected spendings, because it's not that, it's not important to reconcile those. So again, we apologize if there were some on a few spreadsheets there were, but most of them did not. We filtered those out okay. Okay, then we had another question on they forgot how to get to the reconciliation notes. I will be putting this PowerPoint on the notes, but I wanted to show you the different ways. So if you actually see the link, you can copy the link, and I'll continue to put this on emails, etc. But don't forget too that Friday calls are always in sort of the same section. It's in the section called Forums, Recorded Webinars and Training, Friday Support Calls, and in the case for last week's, it has the date, and this week we'll have the date as well. So I'll show you that. So you go to the support site, so https://support.eclacolorado.org. And under Forums, you scroll down, and then here's the recorded webinars and trainings. under Friday support calls. There'll be each of the calls. Here's the call for last week, and I did not put the details, but because of the question, I decided to put the details from the original coaching reconciliation that I did the week before. And then I'm going to go again to Friday support calls for today's call. And I did put the link in so I wouldn't forget of what I sent instructions this week. Here is the link for the instructions, and then we'll have the agenda in here as well as the PowerPoint. So that's a reminder. But another thing that you can do that I want to make sure that you're all familiar with is up here in the How Can We Help You Today. You can type like coaching reconciliation, and you can see that as you're typing, you get, here's the sugar call that we just went, and then it also shows the Friday support calls, and then here's the email that I sent in announcement. So you can see the details when you go into this help. So don't forget, that's just, remember that you can find things on through the help. So again, this is just sort of saying the same thing. Go to the support site and begin typing, and it will have the either it will show you forums, or it will show you articles, or both. Okay. Another question or ticket, and actually we've gotten about, I would say about 6 tickets, that when providers are trying to go to EC Connect and see the requisitions, they don't show. And that's because RTT has been around a long time. We started it last year, and the expiration date may be wrong in the requisition file. So you'll need to, for active requisitions, if you don't see, or if they aren't visible, or you get problems with them, that's one of the things you need to check is the expiration date. So essentially what you do, I'm going to go in and look at requisitions, and if you want to see, I'm going to put expiration date. If you want to see all those that are equal to 9/30/2016, you can see that there's, in this case, there's quite a few. You can see the type of requisition, and then you could go into whatever requisition, click on expiration date, and change it to a date in the future if you wanted to. Any questions on the expiration date? And again, I love it when you get feedback, or anything else I've set up till now.
Rick, this is Sandy. What would be a good date to put in?
Well, part of this is managing, you know, I think this is strategic on the council, and that you think about it yourself. With if it's been, to me, if they've already had the whole year, and you approved them, let's say in March, and you expected them to get done with their spending in, by June, then that's one type of provider where I would tell them, I said, you have until October or November 15th or whatever date you give them, and then go ahead and put it in. But if it's a brand new race to the top, I still think it's really important to sort of force the issue so we can get all this spending done. So it's really up to you. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, I was just thinking, would you put a later date in, but now I'm understanding the logic.
Yeah, so it's up to you to manage those dates. That's why, that's sort of why they've expired, and because we were just guessing, but that was way last year that we had this default date. So it really is up to you to sort of manage that.
Okay.
Well, thanks. Good question. I appreciate it. Okay, and another major issue that came up for some people was that when they tried to go edit their records, they weren't able to edit anything. And there's a few statuses that where you can't edit. And it's sort of done on purpose. So after you reconcile or mark it reconciled, then it's sort of meant to be hard to go in and change that, because it usually means that you've checked against your accounting records, and you don't want anybody to be able to go in and change the amounts after it's been reconciled. But if you need to, you still can. There is, under the actions, the unlike financial fields to make corrections. So that's the key area. But it isn't always just reconciled and locked. For example, if it's approved and ready for finance, it also is locked. So you still have that action, unlock financial fields to make corrections. So I'll show you where that is. And it depends. You see right now that that's an option's not here, unlock financial fields, because the status is approved. So you can still make changes while it's under approved status. You could go in and, well, you can change the fields on these requisitions, or I was on a spending record, though I should have gone to. So I'm going to go into spending record. See, yeah, I'm just going to go into this one, see where it's reconciled and locked. So right now that's locked. And so if I go in and try to add shipping, a discount, see the little pencil doesn't come up. But if, I'm not going to change it because I don't like changing existing records, but here's the, I need to correct something, but the fields are not editable. So if you were to choose that, then you could go in and either change that shipping amount, the discount amount, or the actual details. So there, when the spending record is locked, the spending details are locked as well. Okay. So I'd like to see if there's any questions on this one. And again, say no questions, or say, or like, you know, go ahead and unmute again. And no questions. Got one. Cool. Good. Doing good so far. Understood.
In regards to the question,
yes. Go ahead.
whoever the other person was can go first. Okay, so we have one record that our situation is we have got one record that came back as a mismatched QIP category.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing on that record is on the spending detail, the QIP is correct. It's the category that's wrong, and the category is not editable regardless of going through the steps you just walked through.
Oh, okay. That's the first one that I've had that. So can you send that specific record and we'll correct it?
Okay.
If there's another way to do it that I'm not not knowing, then I'll well, it depends on how many people send that, and I may send either a blanket update to everybody if there's a lot of issues. Otherwise, I'll just handle the individual issues. Does that sound okay, Lisa?
Yeah, it sounds like it's probably an uncommon error.
Yeah, so far you're the first one, but I haven't gone through all my emails yesterday since I was at the conference, so maybe there's more. Has anybody else had that same issue with the mismatched QIP? Nope.
With the category, yeah.
Yeah, with the category?
Being wrong.
Yeah, Tina, it says, I thought you could not submit a spending request without a QIP detail. You can. We found that out because we have lots and lots of them. So it's a rule that you do have a QIP detail, but there's a few cases where it's not required. And we put that on the sample, on the instructions. So that's definitely a training issue that you need to put the QIP detail with the spending records.
I'm not sure it was always required from the very beginning either, because I'm pretty sure that's where some of ours are coming from. But like you said, there could be other methods that you could not be forced to put that. I'd like to put a plug for a future consideration to make that one time per invoice instead of for every item on an invoice, because we really don't change them that much in my experience. And it's a lot of extra clicking that takes time that I'm not sure it's adding a whole lot to it.
Yes, can you add that to your, Lisa, since you're the one keeping notes, can you add that to the document that you're going to send to me about questions and answers? Okay.
And others might not agree with me, so they can speak up.
Yeah, we have a section on the site now for future enhancements, and part of our challenge has been that we can barely keep up with sort of current requirements like this race to the top, reconciliation, all that. But we do hope to get to all these future enhancements and prioritize them, etc. So that's where I'll put it when I get it from you. Okay, I had a major aha through this process. And it sort of was working with councils, working with Bill, hearing the questions that came up, and just wanted to share it with you. So really what that reconciled locked means, and it means a few things, and there's a lot of sort of interesting issues with this. Programmatically, once you make the status reconciled locked through the action, you cannot change the data unless you do that. I need to correct something, but the fields are not editable. So it does protect your data for accidental change of information, and that's purposeful. So after you've reconciled something, you don't want it easy to change, because that means what you've done is you've looked in your books, in your accounting, and made sure that that record matches what's in Sugar. So that was one part of it. The other thing is that in the grants, you are essentially saying when you accept the money that you're going to keep accurate information, or to the best of your ability. And so even just sort of in a wording phrase, what reconciled means is when whoever puts that on, it means I did my best to certify that the information is accurate. So you're really just essentially giving your word to them that you've done your best you could to make sure you have accurate information. And that was a big aha for me too, just that terminology reconciled when I was looking this up on the web and things like that. And then another major issue for me was that really is a challenge for the small councils that we have, where one person is doing everything. Because in reconciliation, often what it takes is more than one person to look at a record. Especially when I put in data, I can't find the errors that I do very easily. That's why I have editors and that kind of stuff. And if I'm expected to edit my own data to make sure that the data is correct, it's much harder than if I have somebody else looking at what I do. So for you small councils, I really understand how that is hard. The program is designed where you have one person sort of entering the data, and then you have finance reviewing the data, and then you say, okay, I've reconciled with finance. So that often could be actually 3 people be doing different tasks. But you sort of need to think about it if it's only one of you doing it, is that you have 3 different processes that you're doing. So you might even need to put on a hat or something, turn it sideways for one of being the finance person, turn it the other way for being the QI navigator. I don't know what the magic is. So I really understand for those of you trying to reconcile records, but that's sort of how the sugar is built. Okay, so any questions on that or comments on that reconciled sort of what it is in the topic? Okay, and Lelania did, since I've been there, did say it wasn't required to initially put QIP, definitely. I don't see any answers. If there's a question, if people of what I was trying to say about reconciled. Yes, the functionality wasn't built out yet for locking the spending. It's a good point, Lelania. Any questions about the reconciled? Aha. Did I put everybody to sleep? Yeah, I think somebody's
Getting with
yawning.
bated breath for the next part.
Okay, no snoring here. Okay, that's good. All right. Okay, so on the spending workbooks, again, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 tabs that you all got, and it, you know, it affected all but 3 councils.
So like, it's like printing one page at a time when it's like vroom, and vroom, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
I didn't understand the question. Oh, okay. Somebody was talking to somebody else. I thought I missed a question. Okay. Don't forget to...
Be muted, but I don't know if I am. Yes. Nope.
Okay, I just muted everybody. And then I will unmute unmute when it comes back for questions. Okay, so again, there's the 7 spreadsheet. And when you're, essentially when you are working on the spreadsheets, you open up the spreadsheet and see on the first one, see if the month is correct, the spending created after invoice, the discount shipping issues for those were greater than 50 or less than 0. You might need to edit the spending details or the shipping shipping amounts. The QIP spending details, we talked a little bit about that, but yes, you're supposed to put a QIP on those details. Unreconciled spending, if the status isn't reconciled before July 1st, you need to go through it and make sure that those are still open, or if not, then you need to change the status through the action menu to reconcile. Mismatched QIP categories, again, Lisa did mention that one issue where the QIP spending does not match the QIP category, but most of the reverse you can fix. Negative spending details, there's only a few of those where there was negative, and a couple of people mentioned that it could have been a return. So you've already paid for it once, but then you have to return it. Invoice in the future, so there were a very few of those, and a couple of those were only a few days away, but then there were a few that were in the next year. So just edit the date on the invoice. And then where the discount was greater than the total, so those probably need to be edited. Okay. I'm going to unmute and see if there are any questions on that.
So Rick, one of the other reasons why a discount will be bigger is because we may have split records prior to the new method of splitting records.
Oh, okay.
So
Thanks.
what I was wondering is, are you wanting us to send you an email saying we're done doing whatever we're going to do and that we believe everything else that's in our records at this point is the way that it should be? Or how is it that you want to know from us?
That's a real, I hadn't thought of that. And I love you being on the phone call. It's really, really good. I think it would be good for me just to know that you're done. So for both the coaching and the spending, I'm going to go ahead and actually send out an update with that. So it would just be helpful to me that I know that you're all finished and that you're essentially saying that you think all the records are fine. And if not, you can put in that email, well, I have these problems that I still need to work out. Does that sound okay with everybody? Okay, so send email when done. And actually that, if you can send that email by the 25th, that's sort of our internal deadline, that would be helpful. Or, you know, if you need to say, well, I need a little bit more time. For back-entered orders, do you want to leave that as the spending status? Well, the problem with back-entered is you often, well, actually, let me repeat the question that Nicole said. It says, for future use, for any back-entered orders, would you want to leave that as the spending status, or do you want us to change it to reconciled? And I'm going to pull from my retail / inventory type background. My mom owned a bookstore, so I worked there a lot. The problem with a back-entered item is that it really is something that you need to work out with the whoever is selling you the goods. And so if it's just left on as back-entered, it's possible that a year or 2 years from now, they'll send the item because it was in their database somewhere. And so you really, I would recommend that you reconcile back-ordered items as well, or back-entered items. But I may not be that the experience that I have may not be applicable. So are there any other suggestions for that? We're changing them. One is saying we're changing them reconciled. See, I do think that it is good practice. So when you know, besides being canceled, that's a different item. But when you know that it really is final and that you don't need to change it anymore, I would recommend putting them as reconciled. Any questions on that? Okay, so this is the part where we diverge in the call. Just what I wanted to do is, you know, catch up everybody, all levels. And if you want details on going into the spreadsheets, feel free to stay on the line. Otherwise, you can log off and have a wonderful Friday. So I will wait a couple minutes. I'm going to go get some more water, and then I'll continue on. Well, actually, probably just 1 minute, and then I'll continue on with whoever's left. Good, I got thanks. Thank you. Those that, if you're still on, thank you for thanking. If you've left, I appreciate anybody that gives thanks. That really helps me. Thinks that maybe I did help you. Okay, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, it's a little hard to tell on mine because a lot of people are still going offline. Can you go ahead and put in the chat window or say I'm on the call for the demo? So again, either just let me know if you're here for the demo. Okay, we got one. Thanks, Dorothy. We're going to be using your own examples. So we got 3. So who wants to start with their workbook? Whoever says first will go into theirs and we'll do whichever tabs you want. It could be all of them. So just let me know we got 3 that said that they want to do it for sure. So either Dorothy, Mandy, or Sherry. Oh, cool, Sherry. Sherry, you're wonderful. It's very hard sometimes to get people to admit that they need help. So I really appreciate it. Sherry, what's your council abbreviation so I can, I know I should get it. It's SLB or something like that, but I can't remember. ECC SLB. Okay. Okay, so here is ECC SLB's worksheet. Sherry, do you want to go through all of them? Let's see, you only have 1 on the discount. Yeah, and there's a couple of sheets you don't have. Okay, so we'll start, and then I'm going to let me know if you understand. So if we need to go through more than 1, then we can. All right. So I'm on the first tab. It's the spending created after invoice, and I go to the first column, and that's the long URL. And remember, in this case, actually, what I'll do, this is we got spendings again. I didn't realize it was in this tab as well. So let me go back to that slide. Spendings and spending details. So I'll fix yours, Sherry, and then I'll send it to you since you're the lucky one that we're doing it. So I'm going to do search for that. Replace spendings with spending details. Replace all. Okay, so that's on that spreadsheet. I'm going to just check on on this one too. Okay. I'm just going to every spreadsheet and doing it. Okay, just was checking on all the spreadsheets. So I did that for you. I'm going to save it again with a new date so you know when I send it to you, Sherry, that it's going to be today's date. Okay, so sorry about that temporary thing, but everybody will need to do that. So again, I'm going to click the URL and do Control-C as a copy, or I can click the copy button up here. Then I go into my Google. I highlight whatever's in their URL, delete it, and press Control-V as in Victor, or sort of, I imagine, a little caret that inserts things. Spending details. Okay, have this error. So I wonder if it was, I did the change, and I'm guessing that I did it wrong. I just thought about it, that this is spending rather than spending details. So what I have to do to correct this, this is real time, so I'm sorry about the error. So I'm going to go to spending and click one of these. So it should be spending. Actually, it was correct in those. So I apologize, Sherry. I shouldn't have. Well, that's what happens when you're live. Okay. So I'm going to turn these back. Okay. So hopefully I fixed it back. Sorry about that. Okay, so here's the first one that we need to look at. So this is spending was created after the invoice. So I am going to look at, here's the invoice date of 2/11/2016. Actually, Sherry, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, I can. Thank you. Okay, this actually happened in a few cases. See where the invoice date is 2/11, and then on the audit trail, the date created is also 2/11 at 10 a.m. So in this case, this one is not a problem because they were probably created at the same time. And let's see if there is a time on here. Yeah, those that are, if we look through this, all those that are the same date, then I wouldn't worry about. This is only one day apart, so I'm not too worried about that. But let's look at this one. So you can really ignore those that were the same date. When we did the programmatically, it didn't catch that. So I apologize. We should have looked at more detail and see which ones were off. So there's not nearly as many as we thought. So sorry about that, Sherry. But there's not as much work for you. So I'm going down to this one that was like a month apart, or 1/27 versus 2016. Does that make sense what I just said, Sherry?
So what's the goal? The goal is that they would be created, date created, and the invoice date would be very close.
Yeah, they'd either be close or the invoice date would be after the date created. So, you know, when you're doing the spending, often when you're in EC Connect, it will automatically create the spending record, and later you'll get the invoice. So it's unusual for the date created to be after the invoice because it's already been created in EC Connect. Does that make sense?
So, yeah, it does. So the date created was it was done by the provider then when they made the order? That's the date created?
Yes.
And then the invoice date, who creates the invoice date?
It's when you go in and reconcile your records, they send you the invoice. The provider sends invoices to you, and then you put in the date on the invoice. So it would be probably you, and this one could have been, instead of January 6th, it could have been February 6th that the invoice came in.
Right.
So that could have just been a typo.
And that would make more sense.
Yeah. So I'm going to go into this one. Oops. Okay, so the date created here is the 1/27. It is reconciled and locked. And the invoice date is 2/6. What do you think on this one, Sherry?
Probably 2/6.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put in 2/6. But one of the things that you could do is, if you were ever uncertain, you know, go actually look at the invoice. Because if the invoice date here is wrong, it's possible that that it hasn't actually been checked. So the total request amount and stuff, you should double check too. So, but let's assume that this is, it was the wrong date. So I'm going to put in 2/6 and save.
Okay, so the expectation is when we receive the invoice, then we go back into Sugar and put in that date.
Well, not just the date. The date would be like one of the least important. But what the expectation is that when you get the invoice, you go into Sugar and see, especially that the total request amount is right. If it's not right, then you need to, check was there shipping fees added, or did they give you a discount, or were the items like this 1859 item? Maybe they calculated the discount on this. And so you have to go in and change in these items. So sort of the last thing is to make sure that the invoice date, is incorrect. So in a way, it's sort of a check that you've checked things, and the invoice date is not critical. But when you're looking at your QuickBooks and you need to find, let's say you were audited or something, and you have the wrong invoice date in, then it doesn't match your QuickBooks or whatever accounting system you have. So it would be harder to find, but more importantly is that you have the totals correct. But you need both.
Okay.
So, Rick, there is a possibility that that invoice is attached to that record to be able to look at it if it was uploaded.
Under notes?
Well, so yes, it would be under notes, and it.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Okay.
Yeah, so but that, that's, go ahead.
I was just going to say we made that our practice, but it was very time consuming to do that, but we did so that everything would be together.
Yeah, it's a good practice, and I know it's time consuming, but for these reasons, you could say, oh, okay, instead of going, because now you'd have to go find the invoice, go check it. This sort of helps you reconcile. So that's a good suggestion, Lisa.
Yeah, and we're already using like an e-file cabinet for all of our invoices, and so we're already scanning it in. So I think it would be fairly easy for us to go get it and attach it here.
Oh, okay, that's good. Sherry, do you have any other questions on the spending created after invoice? Do you want to do another one, or are you okay?
No, I'm okay, and then we can look at that. Thank you.
All right. And again, I think I should have left this as spending. Okay, so this discount shipping issues, the discount is a lot. It's like 75 and shipping is $15.94. So we're just going to go in and look at that and see if it makes sense. Whoops. I hit paste twice. That's not going to work. Okay. This is an archived record. So discount was $75. The shipping was $15.94. But it is a large order, $614.37. One of the issues that has come up is if there's a lot of items and these prices are wrong, you should change these prices rather than, you know, putting the whole discount in one area. So that may be one issue, but it could be that the discount, because it was such a large order, they gave you $75 across the board.
Mm-hmm. Just again, going back and double checking the invoice, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. So
it's just
I
a
don't
flag.
want to
This
change
could
it.
be. This could be correct. We just need to. It's just a red flag to go back and make sure.
Yeah, exactly. We just created the report that had unusually large numbers in those areas. So that's just to help you double check. But remember, when it's reconciled. Oh, go ahead.
Now that it's archived there and reconciled, we have to unlock it, right?
Yeah, and the issue is probably the total is correct, the 614.37. So that's, you know, because you've already probably reconciled this to your records, and this is last year's information. You have to be pretty careful that you don't change this if it's right. So it might take a little bit of work to check your spending records versus this one. So if you need help on that particular one, let me know. But don't forget that you have to unlock the record by, I need to correct something, but the fields are not editable. Does that make sense, Sherry?
Yes, thanks.
Okay. Okay, so mismatched QIP categories. In these cases, like the spending category was leadership, management, admin, and workforce was the QIP category. There's only 4 of these, so I'm going to go in the first one, and Sherry can let us know how we should change it. I'm going to cancel this so nothing happens. Okay,
Can you pick one? Let's see. Let's see. Can you show me which one is this one?
This is the first one.
Okay, let me look at another one. Who's, does it show the name? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Which one?
That'll be fine.
Oh,
I was
okay.
just going to see if there was one with the coach that's on the phone, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Okay, so see here where it's QIP is leadership, management, and administration, whereas this is what Lisa was saying. We can't change this QIP category, but we can change this goal. So if I click here, sort of the key here is to use the same abbreviation.
Okay, why do you want to change the goal?
Well, these need to match.
These two need to match. Okay, gotcha.
Right. So if I just leave it blank and try to search for all of them, you just get way too many goals.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, where did I go?
Okay, so where is the QIP category chosen in the process?
That's when you're first creating the record.
Okay. And then when is the QIP goal created?
I don't know.
Same
Did
time.
somebody, Lisa, at the same time?
Sherry was asking when is the QIP goal selected, and generally it's at the same time.
Okay.
So
Thank
it should be
you.
pretty easy
Yeah.
to make sure there's a match.
Okay. And so if you need to go and edit it, then you type the abbreviation for your provider, and then it only shows what's here. So you may need to check your records. Like Lisa said, in this case, this one was wrong rather than this one. So, but
something's dawning on me on this, Rick, that I wonder if we want to follow up on, because I think you pick a QIP category based on the entirety, and you do the QIP for each individual item, and that's how these get mismatched, maybe.
Okay.
Because,
so it is possible.
Yeah, but the problem is we don't have an option. The only option that we probably have is to split this order up, which I have to say would be insane.
Yeah. No, I understand. You know, and it's almost the opposite of what you suggested before, is picking the QIP category for the spending and like essentially making that go down to all of them.
Yeah, I think it just is making me wonder when you look at what's actually in that workforce QIP versus the category. So, like in my case, the QIP was the right one. It was it was the other one that was wrong, but.
Well, let's go ahead and verify this, but that really is if you could include that as a question, because that might be, you know, even related to your suggestion earlier. So Sherry, if we look at this, see it has leadership, management, and administration for this, you know, purchase a computer system to improve the business. Does it make sense to have the same leadership, management,
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to click on that. So now they match, and we'll hit save. Okay, I know we're a little bit past. If anybody, when we're doing this, this last part of the call, I'm glad to continue. Sherry, do you want to continue on with the rest of your spreadsheet?
I would love to if you have time.
I definitely do, but I just wanted to let other people know if they want to leave. There's no penalty for leaving early, so, or actually leaving on time, but I certainly am glad to help those that are still on the call. Okay, do you want to look at any of these others, or do you want to go to the next sheet?
No, that's okay, Rick.
Okay.
We can look at those.
Okay, so these, and here's where I should have, the others I should not have changed, but just this sheet, it was the spending details. And I see what happened is that when we created the spreadsheet, we included spending instead of on all of the sheets rather than spending details on this one. Okay, so I'm going to go to the, in this case, it does not have a QIP on the spending details. Okay, so I'm copying the URL again. And if you look at this one, see where learning environment is here, but then there's no goal. So it's essentially the same. If we click on the QIP goals and start typing the abbreviation, okay, CGEI. So do you want to put learning environment, Sherry?
Yes.
Okay, so again, it would make sense for this QIP category and the QIP specific goal that they put in on 316-630 to be here. Okay, and I'll save it.
And this was what we were talking about a little bit ago, that it's not a requirement. You can go ahead and process it, but it is kind of a rule that we want to have that in there.
Yeah, and I think, you know, basically what the agreement was is that every item right now is going to have a QIP goal. So, you know, sort of to Lisa's point, can we do it for the whole invoice rather than individual items? But as it stands right now, sort of the agreement has been that each item is going to have a QIP attached to it. Does that make sense, Sherry?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to see if we have any archived, reconciled. Okay, I don't see on Sherry's any archived, but what you might have to do is, if the QIP goal is archived, you might have to start with archived. And you'll see, and then include the abbreviation, so CGEI. So if it's an old spending detail that says archived up here, you'll have to put archived in the QIP goal probably, unless there is a current goal that already works for you. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, I'm canceling that. Okay, you don't have anything on unreconciled spending, nothing on invoice in the future, and nothing on discount greater than total. So we've covered your sheet. There actually is a request to continue on with somebody else's sheet. Do you have any more questions, Sherry?
No, that was very helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I will, since I edited this and, you know, with the spending details, I'll send you this after the call so you don't have to go through and make that change yourself.
Great.
Okay. All right. So you're certainly welcome to stay on the call. We have Tina asked, she was the next one that asked if we could look at hers. So Tina, I assume you're still on the call. Can you put me what your council abbreviations is? ECC SLV. Oh, same program. Sorry about that, Tina. I was just saying, did we just do that one? Okay, so which tab do you want me to go to? I don't know. Okay, I can look at them all if you want. So spending created after invoice. Oh, there's one of yours. So we would do the same thing. So we would go down to this URL, copy it. Okay, I've copied that. Spending was created after the invoice. Let's actually, I should have looked at the date and see if it was a problem. Yeah, there's a big difference in the date. So 5/2/2006 versus 3/29. Okay, so if we look at this, 3/29 was when the invoice date. So what you'll need to do is go check this invoice and make sure it's correct here. So that's probably on the one. I would double check this invoice, especially since it's so different. Does that make sense, Tina? For this? Yeah? Oh, it's uploaded in here? No. Okay. Yeah. So let's look at this. See, here was where Tina uploaded this. Great. We don't even have to go look in a file somewhere. So I clicked on that.
I wonder.
3/29/2016 is the invoice.
I think this was one that was entered in you know, it wasn't done through EC Connect, so it looks like it substitutes.
Oh, okay,
And
yeah.
so that's why it was done that way probably. She went ahead and invoiced for it, the provider, and then it just took us a while. We probably processed it, and then we said, oh, we need to go and get that into Sugar. So
Okay.
that's probably why that happened.
Okay. Are you pretty sure that that's what happened?
Yep, Tina says correct.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in like under, let's do it under QI Navigator notes. So you tell me what you want me to type. I'll put invoice.
Entered into Sugar
Into
after
Sugar
paid.
after
Yeah.
after date inputted. Okay. That's normal. Invoice entered into Sugar before. Actually, input after date of invoice.
Input into Sugar after date of invoice.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'll put because not purchased in EC Connect. Does that sound okay? Okay.
Yes,
And then I'll
except
save
there's
it.
2 invoices right there. Read that again before you hit save.
Okay. Oh yeah. Invoice after date of invoice because not purchased in EC Connect. Cool. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so that was the only one that you had on this sheet. I don't see any on that sheet. On that sheet. Okay, here's one for, this is the QIP spend details. So I'll copy that. Okay, see how the learning materials, learning environment, QIP category, there's no QIP goal. And so I click here, I type the abbreviation, SELC2, and I'm going to match it, let's see, learning materials. I'm looking for learning materials. Was it SELC2? Wow, you got a lot here. But you understand, you'll have to look through it to see which one it matches. Does that make sense to you? What I'm doing is I'm seeing if there is one.
I think you
So
need
this
to
is
use
the
word environment instead of materials.
Is that okay? Oh, learning environment. There they are. Okay. This looks like we need to, this was just modified, so I'm going to put this last date in. Does that make sense, Tina? Okay, I was just typing, I was looking up here in QI type rather than QI category. Sherry's asking why there's so many for learning environment. They had different goals at different times. And so we're choosing the last one. Whoops, that's 2005. Never mind. I don't know why there's 2 right at the same time.
because they have different details under them that you can't see, Rick, and that's why
Oh.
this is a very challenging task to ask, because unless we actually click in there and read them all, you don't know really that you're picking the right one.
Oh, okay. Especially if there's more than one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is...
programs who were very clean and only did a few, and others who did 100.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is go into the search. Actually, let me go back so you can see that. So
Lisa, do you think we should? Lisa, do you think that there should be some guidance to providers to do fewer goals, to be more general?
That is certainly on my end, my preference, because when they do a lot of them, they're actually getting down into too much of the weeds. But it's not, what we're trying to do is hard because we're doing it after the fact. When they're in EC Connect and they're doing it, they can see more detail to know they're picking the right one, but because we aren't, it is very difficult to know you're for sure picking the right one. And Rick, to be honest with you, I'm not going to that level. I'm getting as close as I can.
Okay, so just pick one of these, right?
So I do pay attention to the dates because sometimes the 2015 might make more sense for when this order was done, but sometimes the 2016 makes sense because it's close to the date of when that order was done. But it doesn't probably make sense to pick a 2016 if the order was placed in 2015.
Okay, so the last time this was modified was actually, well, it was created on 3/31 and modified on 10/10. So sometimes, so I'm going to look and see what the dates are. And actually, I will put in learning environment so we can see just those. So this is the same date, wasn't it? 15? Yeah. Or
I like that logic.
Okay. So as a quick and dirty correction, then that's it. But I like the discussion, and you know, whether you have, and as a principal, when I was first principal, I created so many goals that it was impossible for me to do them all. And so that is one of the recommendations that I agree with, is try not to have so many goals that you can't accomplish them. So I'm going to save that. Tina, do you have any other questions on this sheet? Nope. Okay. Unreconciled spending, you don't have anything. Invoice in future and discount grader. Okay. So does anybody else have any questions? Nobody else has asked for me to cover theirs. And if you don't, feel free to say goodbye. I really do appreciate you all staying on the call, and I think this is the structure that I will have, is to you know, sort of try to do the call within the hour for everybody, and then if anybody wants some extra questions, I'll just be glad to stay on. Is there anything anybody that's left on the call want me to cover next week? I don't have anything scheduled right now. Nobody's suggesting anything, and nobody's saying goodbye, so I'm not sure where we're at. Nope. Thanks so much for your help. You're welcome. Have a wonderful weekend too, Dorothy. Okay, on the mismatch, Tina, there's you didn't have any. There were only 4 on your spreadsheet. Oh, QIP list. So down these in rows on your spreadsheet, which I'm sending again to Sherry. Actually, I'll send it to you as well. Well, no, I'll just send it to Sherry and she can send it to, is she still on the call? Yeah, Sherry is still on.
Yes.
I don't want to send 2, but it's this part of the worksheet, so it's from rows 52 through 66. You're welcome, Mindy. Lisa, I have a question. Since nobody has a topic for next week, what about you've been suggesting sort of the purpose of sugar, you know, the overall discussion. What would you think about having a call just for that?
I think it'd be interesting to hear what people are thinking.
Okay. Well, let's, I will put that on the agenda and send that today. Because it probably will be different people that might want to be on the call, like council coordinators or you know, the leaders rather than the people in the weeds. But people might want to do both. So I'll send that out today. Remind me if you don't get it.
Okay.
You're welcome, everybody. Thank you all for being on the call, and especially you, Lisa, for your staying on the call and helping out.
No problem. I'll send you what notes I have, but I'm not necessarily good at this side of it. So
that's fine. I'll have Jose proof it before you,
okay.
and then I'll look at it. Yes,
Sounds
I agree. Lisa, did you see that Sherry said Lisa rocks? I totally agree.
I did. Thanks, Sherry.
All right. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
You too.
Bye.